It's hard to believe that I've been running this channel for 11 years now. I was 17 when I started this whole thing, and now I'm 28. Since then, I've put out more than 3,000 videos on this channel, accounting for over 80 different Let's Plays, as well as other various series and videos and one-off ideas I've had here and there. It's been a wild ride, but I'm not going to take today to talk to you about how it all began again. If you want the channel backstory and how this all started and my inspiration for beginning this whole YouTube thing, I actually did that in last year's anniversary video. Since this is the 11th, which isn't really all that special of a number, I'm going to do something kind of random that I just came up with on a whim. Now, I do this at the risk of coming off as an egotist, and that is not at all my intention with this video. I guess I just kind of want to expand on the lore of the channel a little bit. I've never really talked about my own Let's Plays all that much, aside from, when I was in the process of creating them. The most I really do when it comes to reflection is in the finale of a series, and as the credits roll, I use that time to talk about what I thought about the game, the Let's Play, and all that sort of stuff, but that's just kind of a spur of the moment thing. Breaking down the Let's Plays I've done just seems a little narcissistic because I don't like my own stuff most of the time. You can call it insecurity or whatever it is you want, but I fully admit it has nothing to do with the quality of my videos. I just don't like listening to myself talk, which you might find hilarious for somebody that has a channel that's all about talking. It's more of a form of expression than anything. I can't actively listen to myself without scrutinizing myself to a ridiculous and probably unfair degree. It's good for editing, but it isn't all that great for my self-esteem, I know. But I do want to use this opportunity to talk about what I think, personally, is my best work on this channel. Because there is, I think, a severe disparity between my most popular and successful Let's Plays and what I actually think are my best. I have been almost entirely driven by the YouTube search algorithm over the years. I don't really self-promote. I don't really network all that much. Most of my views come in thanks to YouTube just kind of blessing me with search results, and there are a few Let's Plays of mine that are significantly more successful than others due to that feature. I mean, listen, I don't regret a single thing that I've done here. I've had a lot of fun making all these videos over the years, but I often cringe at the thought that people's first impression of my channel is what they see in some of my earlier, more shoddy videos, and that's kind of the point of making this. If people were to ask to see my videos, these are the 10 Let's Plays that I would recommend to them first and foremost. I'm gonna go in chronological order, from the oldest to the most recent, name the number of videos, when the Let's Play started, when it ended, etc. And then just kind of give the backstory for what was going on at the time when I made that series, as well as why I think that series is a better demonstration of what I want from my Let's Plays, and I'll just put up some footage from the Let's Play as I go. Now keep in mind that a couple of these really early Let's Plays I did not have an HD capture card for, so they're not going to look their absolute best, but they were about as good as I could make them at the time. I'm trying to preserve them in their original state. They also might not translate as well in this video as they do if you actually go back and watch them because of the way YouTube compresses things, especially when you re-download something, because surprise, I don't have every single one of the Let's Plays I've ever made backed up in their original uncompressed form, so that is something to take into consideration as we go over all of these. Okay, let's start with the very oldest Let's Play. Now, before I actually name it, this channel has been around for so long that a lot has happened through my actual life over the course of it. I mean, I've been running this channel for like a third of my entire lifetime. Not actually longer than that. So a lot has taken place over the course of making all of these videos, and I kind of separate my channel into three distinct eras. None of the videos that I'm going to talk about today come from what I consider to be the first era. This is when I was just starting. I didn't have a job. I didn't have really any means of actually making high quality content. I was running this channel on a $40 capture card and a $20 microphone, and the crappiest free editing software you could possibly think of. I was literally using Windows Movie Maker for the first couple. It was that bad. And those videos, they don't have any place on here. Once I moved out and was able to get kind of my own sense of independence and structure and be able to buy my own equipment and things like that, that was kind of when the next phase of the whole channel in terms of growth began. And the very first series to mark that second phase was Let's Play Journey, which began on September 28th, 2013 and ended on October 5th, 2013. Yeah, very close together. That was back when I was actually uploading Let's Plays every single day. I wasn't trying to run 2 or 3 Let's Plays alongside each other at the same time. I was just doing one at a time. Didn't do this for very long, only for about a year and a half, but this was kind of my thought process going into making this Let's Play and the next, I would say, about 7 or 8 Let's Plays from here on out. But Journey was a very short one. It's obviously a very short game. It was only 8 videos long. At the time, I was extremely obsessed with Journey. I absolutely loved it. It was at the time where indies were kind of at the forefront of games and the game industry, because we were kind of getting into that transitionary period where the Wii U had just come out and the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were just on the horizon. So a lot of the AAA companies had just kind of stopped making games for a while, and indie games were kind of left to fill in the gaps. Now, Journey had already been out for a year at this point, but it was kind of the leader of a second wave of an indie revolution again. Like, there was kind of one before that with games like Limbo and Braid and things like that, but Journey kind of set the stage for some more, I guess, technologically impressive indie games that a lot of people started to buy into, and systems like the PlayStation 3 and then Xbox's whole Xbox Live Arcade thing were at the forefront of promoting that entire, I guess, sequence of events. And Journey, out of all of those games, was the one that stood out to me the most. It's the one that appealed to me the most, just because of how beautiful it looked, how much of a sensory experience it was, just how amazing it was to play. And I knew I had to make a Let's Play of it at some point. I think I actually gave it a shot before I made this Let's Play, and I didn't like the way it turned out, so I waited. I waited until I was able to get better equipment, I was able to get a better setup, a better space, and then I decided to finally make this happen. And I think, as far as my earlier videos are concerned, it turned out really, really well. It's one of the oldest Let's Plays I can go back and look at and not physically cringe listening to, because I actually think I did a very good job with it. I was very comprehensive, went over absolutely every secret that was in the game, and I just sort of had this measured level of confidence when making that Let's Play, and it shows. It showed in the videos, and it is one of my very first good projects that I would highly recommend to anybody who's interested in watching any of my older projects. The next Let's Play, however, well, we might have actually hit the peak here. It's all downhill from here. No, that's not true at all. This next Let's Play that I want to talk about is just very special, because it kind of stands as the channel's magnum opus even all these years later, and it's mostly down to the amount of work that I put into that series. I don't think I can ever say or ever will be able to even have the time to put in the kind of work I did with this Let's Play. And obviously it's reserved for what I still consider to be my favorite video game of all time, and that was Let's Play Okami, which I started on September 13th, 2014. It ended on December 30th, 2014, technically, but I did also add a couple of bonus videos to the playlist after the fact that happened in 2015. Regardless, 87 videos long, the most comprehensive Okami Let's Play I could possibly make. Something that always drove me nuts when I watched Okami Let's Plays. As good as they are, and as many of my favorite Let's Players have made these Let's Plays, one thing that's always bothered me is that they're never fully comprehensive. They usually limit themselves to one of two factors, whether it's just beating the main game, or if they're going for 100%, it usually just comes down to collecting all of the extra. In that game, they're stray beads. They think of those like Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild, except for not near as difficult and esoteric to collect, and also they have a much better reward. Regardless, people would just kind of limit themselves to that, but they wouldn't check out a lot of the hidden side quests that are there for praise and things like that. They also wouldn't tackle things that would later become part of getting the Platinum Trophy on PlayStation. And I decided I wanted to Let's Play the PS3 version, and I wanted to Platinum the darn thing, which is more than just getting all the stray beads. It was catching all of the fish in the game, feeding every single animal in the game, doing every single possible side quest, maxing out on praise. I didn't miss a thing while doing that Let's Play, and on top of that, I also did probably the best graphic design work I've ever done. While there's still things in there that I think look kind of ugly in hindsight, I don't think I've ever put so much work on the graphical elements of a Let's Play like I did with that one. And it's actually funny, because a lot of that graphical work I put into that Let's Play, I had made more than 2 years prior to that Let's Play. I had started on the graphical work on that Let's Play years in advance. It's because I originally gave an Okami Let's Play a shot very, very early on, and I was only like a few episodes into it, and I was super unhappy with the way it turned out. Stopped the whole thing, shelved it, decided to wait until I was ready to come back to it, and this is the Let's Play that ended up becoming that. And I still think it actually is one of my best Let's Plays. Again, just having that measured level of confidence when you go into a series, it really is a breath of fresh air. It's something that, it's a big part of why I don't do blind Let's Plays, because I feel constantly aimless and lost, and I know that that reflects in my commentary because I'm not very good at hiding that. And when I play a game that I know a ton about and I know exactly what I'm doing, I feel so much more kind of in a zone in this realm of I can actually make something good here. And Okami from start to finish was that, because I know that game like the back of my hand. It's my, like I said, it's my favorite game of all time. And you're going to notice that pattern with a lot of games on this list, that they're games that I know a lot about, because I do think that really does translate to some of my best work. But if you ever want to watch what I still think, at least in terms of the amount of effort, is the best Let's Play I've ever made, go back, go watch Okami. It's still up. It's wonderful, and I had such an amazing time making it. And it was so good, in fact, especially with a game like this, where, you know, I get so uneasy and like, oh man, I need to redo this and do it better. I don't feel that way about this Let's Play. I really don't. I don't feel like I need to one-up myself. Could I technically do better than that? Absolutely. Do I think I could ever do that with the way my life is now and have the time to actually create something like that again? Probably not. And that was all I was going to say about Okami, but I wanted to add in one thing really quickly that I've never actually discussed about this Let's Play. My biggest regret and my biggest mistake with this Let's Play that I suppose is worth sharing, given the context of this video. But when I made that Let's Play, like I said, it was incredibly comprehensive, and I made a point of collecting every stray bead. I actually uploaded a video that was supposed to kind of be a reference guide for the rest of the Let's Play. It was essentially just a running video with all 100 stray beads that could be gotten throughout the game in the video, and what I was supposed to do is I was supposed to annotate every single one of those stray beads as a checklist that would then take you to the specific sections of the Let's Play where I obtained said stray beads and showed how to do it. Now, in hindsight, it's a good thing that I didn't waste my time due to the fact that YouTube ended up going away from annotations only a couple of years later. But I did want to kind of point this out, as people might watch that Let's Play and be confused when I do make references to this idea a couple of times, especially at the very end of the Let's Play as we were wrapping things up. And that video, actually, that reference video, is still sitting on my channel to this day, private and unviewable, only serving as a stark reminder to myself that I never actually fully finished the Let's Play to the degree that I was intending to from the start. But at the very least, its omission doesn't negatively affect the quality of the original product. It just doesn't necessarily enhance it neither. Now, the third Let's Play on this list is on here for a very sentimental reason. I started this Let's Play in June 2015, on June 8th, and I ended it on June 23rd, 2015. Another really short series, also 8 videos. Technically, actually 7, because the 8th video was just the cutscene that plays when you get the bad ending of the game. At the very end of the game, it gives you like a choice. Do you want the good ending or the bad ending? And either way, you get like a 2 to 3 minute cutscene, and then that's the only difference. So, really short Let's Play, honestly, but it's for a very short game. The Neverhood is probably one of the most unique games I've ever covered on this channel, and the reason I did it is because it's the first video game I ever played. I'm not kidding when I say that. It wasn't some educational video game. It wasn't something on one of those leap pad games or anything like that a lot of kids were exposed to when they were really young. It wasn't anything on the Game Boy. No, it was the Neverhood, the really freaky point-and-click claymation game made by the people who made Earthworm Jim. That was the very first thing I ever played, and I would play it with my dad, and we would sit at the computer and we'd try to solve these puzzles, and I remember we never beat it. We never beat that game. Later on in life, I did go on to beat it, but I knew that at some point I was going to have to cover it. Now, it's not like the Neverhood is a super unknown quantity. It's been talked about by people on YouTube many times and people in media plenty of times because it does stand out as one of the strangest games from that era. And a good strange game at that. It does have some bad point-and-click game conventions as well, but it's very notable, very memorable, just due to its style, its sense of humor, and things like that. And I knew at some point, I gotta cover this. It's like where it all began. This was my first exposure to video games. And hilariously, to this day, is the only PC game I've ever covered on this channel. Fittingly, being a game that's ancient, therefore my computer can actually handle it. But yeah, the Neverhood is one that I would, again, highly recommend. Super easy to get through, too. I mean, I think that whole Let's Play is like 2 hours. Super short. Probably even less than that, if I'm being honest. But very simple. I was, again, very direct, very prepared for that one. I do think I actually used a written guide to help me through that one a little bit, just because there are, like I said, there's some point-and-click game conventions in that game that if you don't know exactly what to do, how the heck are you ever supposed to know this? A lot of those games had that, and the Neverhood was no exception. But in a lot of ways, it also was just mean. Like some of the puzzles, I remember there's like a mix and match puzzle in that game where it's like a 10 by 10 grid. So you got like 100, or I guess like 50 matches you need to make, except you have to write things down in that mix and match, because if you mess up once, the entire board resets. And it's mean, it's evil. And so, yeah, sometimes you have to come with a little extra help when going into a game like that. And I have no shame in saying so, but I do think that Let's Play turned out very, very good. And I'm, again, very proud of it to this day. The next Let's Play I want to talk about, and we're jumping ahead by years with each one of these as we get closer to now, where I definitely feel a lot more confident with my Let's Plays in general. But the next Let's Play I want to talk about is Fury, which I began on November 16th, 2016, and ended on January 4th, 2017. Now, this Let's Play is interesting because it's actually a Let's Play I haven't technically finished. I know, I haven't beaten the final boss, and I also haven't beaten the extra DLC boss that was added a few months after the game came out. I've only beaten, I guess, like the main 8, and then shown the bad ending of the game. And you might be going, okay, well, why would you at all be proud of this? Because Fury is ridiculously hard. It's probably the hardest game I've covered on this entire channel, and played as well as I did. Look, I suck at action games. I am not very good at them. When it comes to super high level difficulty, the only places where you're going to catch me actually excelling is in first-person shooters, third-person shooters, sports games, and racing games. That's pretty much it. Everything else, it takes me a while to get good at something, and even Fury did. I had to do a couple of playthroughs to prepare for the actual Let's Play itself, but I'm pretty proud of the way that thing turned out in terms of my gameplay. Again, that game is hard. It kicks your butt. The entire point of the game is boss fights. That's all it is. It's a boss rush, and it's extremely hectic. It's kind of a mix between action and bullet hell mechanics, and I'm just bad at both of those things. So the fact that I was able to get through that entire Let's Play, at least up to the point where I did without a single death, was probably one of the best gaming accomplishments I've ever had as far as my Let's Plays are concerned. That's pretty much the only reason that this is on the list. So if you want to actually see good gameplay on top of my commentary, that is a game to go check out. I've also gushed over and over about how great Fury is as a game in general. I absolutely love it, but I also can't beat it. I seriously cannot beat that final boss. That final boss in the game is like entirely a bullet hell, and that is the stuff that I struggle at the most, and it is by far the worst bullet hell in the entire game. It's not even close, and I can't beat it. I can't beat it. I've never even attempted the extra boss. I can't beat the final boss, but even so, the way that Let's Play is, I genuinely look back at that and go, that was probably the mark of, at least in terms of games that I would actually consider to be hard, that is probably the best best example of my gameplay. I guess when it comes to games I've actually completed where I have good gameplay demonstrated, I would look to something like Shadow of the Colossus or Super Mario Sunshine, Ori and the Blind Forest, or Will of the Wisps, particularly the latter, which we'll talk about that later. Those are games that I can say that I actually beat on the channel that I think I did a pretty good job with, but Fury kind of stands out as being a game that I would never, under any other circumstance, take a look at or cover, because it's just not in a genre that's for me. But somehow I managed to make it work, and that was kind of one of those above all odds. It actually turned out okay. So this was honestly, I was struggling with putting a 10th Let's Play on this list, but I kind of wanted to round it out, and Fury was sort of my last resort. I'm just gonna admit to that now, but yeah, it's still a good Let's Play. I think it still went pretty darn well, but out of all the ones I'll name today, it's probably the weakest. So the next Let's Play actually only began less than a month after my Fury Let's Play, actually. And this one is a bit on the interesting side. I actually didn't make a note of when this game came out, but I need to do that for the sake of this story. Okay, so my most anticipated game of the last decade came out on December 6th, 2016. And that was none other than The Last Guardian, the sequel to Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. When that game came out, I instantly barricaded myself away like a hermit, beat the entire game in, I think, 2 sittings. I actually took work off. I beat that entire game as fast as I possibly could. Then I instantly fired the game back up again and began recording it and put out a Let's Play. I had the entire thing basically beaten and then beaten again, and recorded the second time with commentary and all of that in less than 3 days. That's how fast I did that. I was like, I am determined to get a good Let's Play of this done, but I need to beat it for myself first to see if I really like it and to actually understand the way that this game works and be able to teach people the puzzles and things like that. When I emerged from my hole, my cave that I had locked myself away in, I was very shocked to see that people did not like the game. Like, at all. It was getting a lot of backlash, a lot of poor press. Like, the reviews themselves were fine, but, you know, that doesn't really mean anything in terms of the court of public opinion. And in the court of public opinion, the game was kind of getting lambasted. There was, oh, the camera sucks, and the controls are weird, and this dog thing sucks at listening to you, and blah, blah, blah. This game's annoying. And I was kind of bummed because I loved the game. I loved everything about it. In fact, it was one of the most special gaming experiences I've had in the last 10 years. It was absolutely wonderful, and that game's ending, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. I still think that game has the greatest ending in video game history. And so that Let's Play was very, very special to me, but due to the fact that that game was so heavily criticized and, again, lambasted, that Let's Play got completely swept under the radar, and it's one of my most poorly received and least watched Let's Plays ever. And that is probably, if there was a single Let's Play that I would like to self-promote on this entire video, it's that one. Because not only did I love that game so much, but I had no problems with it. I didn't struggle at all. I knew exactly how the puzzles worked, and I was able to get through that game pretty seamlessly. I think there was like one part at the very, very end, and it wasn't even like a thing that was getting me killed. It was more just kind of like, I think it was just like a little platforming segment where you're supposed to ride Trico up these towers. It was like the only part where I was having a little bit of trouble getting him to like listen to me, and it could have just been due to scuffed inputs and things like that, but I didn't really have any problems with the game otherwise, like at all. It worked great. It was so wonderful, and it was special to me, and it was emotional too, and emotion is so, I think, integral to the types of Let's Plays that I try to make here, especially with games like that. Like, obviously there's lots of games that don't have a lot of emotion to them, but I do think that it is important to have games that evoke these feelings out of people, and Last Guardian does it probably better than any I've ever covered on this channel, or close to the top at the very least. So I was very bummed to see, again, that game get the treatment that it got when it was one of the most special experiences I've ever had. So yeah, highly recommend that one. It started on December 12th, 2016, ended February 20th, 2017. It's a 21 episode Let's Play, about, I want to say 5 to 6 hours long, something like that. But again, one of the best that I've ever done, and one of the most special games I've ever covered. Okay, the next one is another bit of an interesting case because it only sort of works in hindsight. Right before the release of Destiny 2, another super anticipated sequel, and also one of the biggest disappointments of the entire decade for me, I decided to sit down, and even though I had covered Destiny on the channel many, many times, I wanted to give it the actual Let's Play treatment. So this time, because I didn't want it to get in the way of the other series I was making at the time, I decided to record the entire thing and upload it daily, but only like in the evenings, aside from whatever was the current project at the time. So this Let's Play was 81 videos, and I finished it in less than a month. So yeah, it was actually like 2 episodes a day. August 5th, 2017 to September 3rd, 2017. Really fast. That's like, what is that, 28 days, 29 days? And I got 81 videos out. That's pretty crazy, because Destiny was a loaded game. I mean, this was pretty much the comprehensive campaign experience, of Destiny 1, all in anticipation for Destiny 2. Now, when Destiny 2 came out, I also recorded some Let's Play stuff for that. In fact, about 60, 70 videos worth of it, except I recorded those videos well after Destiny 2 had already been out for a while, but before it got good again. So those videos were pretty salty, pretty unhappy with the state of the game, and they just turned out bad. They just turned out bad. Anyone who was enjoying what Destiny 2 was at the time, and I'll be honest, there wasn't a lot, but there were some that enjoyed Destiny 2 for what it was. I don't think those people really liked those videos very much, because I was incredibly harsh, incredibly critical of the game. And I noticed it too, so I kind of just stopped. I made it through the Destiny 2 vanilla campaign, Curse of Osiris expansion, Warmind expansion, and then I just stopped. I made an attempt to pick up the Forsaken campaign a bit later when I was back into the game and I was loving it again, but it just wasn't turning out well. And good thing too, because lo and behold, Bungie completely changed the way that that game works now, and they kind of eliminated the entire campaign structure up until this most recent release in 2022, which was The Witch Queen. And essentially, the game's structure just doesn't lend very well to the Let's Play format anymore. Even with the current campaign, which I did upload on the channel not too long ago, even with that said, there are so many asides and so many extra things throughout the game that don't work as far as campaigns are concerned, especially with the way strikes are done now and all the other extra missions that I did cover in Destiny 1, or those types of missions, I suppose, that there's no way I'd be able to keep up that Let's Play in Destiny 2. It just wouldn't work. So I ended up unlisting all of those videos, and now all that remains on YouTube is the Destiny 1 portion. It ends at episode 81, which was, I want to say, it was the last episode of the Kvostov exotic quest, because at the very end of that, there's a nice little sentimental scene that plays, which I thought was a perfect way to kind of cap off that Let's Play. And as a complete package, even though it was in the context of looking towards the future and having that excitement for Destiny 2, even with that aside, it's a beautiful Let's Play, I think, actually, because, again, I knew exactly what I was doing. I was very knowledgeable of Destiny at the time. I still am. Loved the game. I was super obsessed with it. And very comprehensive, but it just kind of, the way it was structured, it all worked out very seamlessly. It's a very pretty game, very nice to look at. It's definitely a relic as well, and I think a lot of people who play Destiny 2 currently would look back on that game and go, wow, this is something. Probably not even that great of a game to a lot of people, but I really loved it. I really loved that Let's Play, and I go back and I've looked at some of those videos and I'm like, this actually turned out pretty darn well, especially for being as rushed as it was. And yeah, it's another special one to me, especially considering Destiny as a whole is very special to me. So, next Let's Play I want to talk about began on February 9th, 2018 and ended on June 15th, 2018. And there's a little bit of a gap in the middle there, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But that was the Shadow of the Colossus remake, my third attempt at a Shadow of the Colossus Let's Play. Okay, I've gotten a lot of flack for this in the past, and I've given myself a lot of flack for this in the past. I have made Let's Plays of Shadow of the Colossus multiple times. My very oldest version was my third ever Let's Play. I just did the normal mode, went through the game. Ugly, awful, old Let's Play. It's still on the channel, though, if you want to watch it, but it's ancient and not pretty to look at. I then did a hard mode version of the Let's Play, where I beat the entire game on hard mode to show what it was like, did the campaign that way, and also took a look at a bunch of aside stuff. But there's a lot of stuff I talked about in that series that hasn't aged very well. I spent a lot of time talking about behind-the-scenes stuff and stuff that because Shadow of the Colossus has a very involved scene for data miners, and they care a lot about the under-the-hood stuff of Shadow of the Colossus, and that stuff is very fascinating, so I wanted to cover a lot of that in the hard mode Let's Play, but a lot of that stuff did not age very well because a lot has changed since then, and that Let's Play is just kind of a relic. The only really notable thing for it is that when I went to do the time attack portion of it, I was able to get Nintendo Capri Sun, actually, to do a guest appearance on one of the videos, even though it was shoddy, and I really feel bad for that because I wasn't even able to stream the gameplay properly to the guy, and I do apologize for that because otherwise it was a phenomenal experience, but I do feel bad. I mean, like I said, my early days, they were shoddy, they were bad, they were ugly. It was just, I had no idea what I was doing back then. But all these years later, we were given a remake from Blue Point Studios, and that gave me the excuse to finally put this game to bed, do it correctly. The main Let's Play is 18 videos long, but if you include all of the videos with no commentary, which was essentially the same fights, I just took out the commentary if you just wanted to see how it was done, then it's 34 videos, an extra 16, one for each Colossus. But 18 videos long, one for each Colossus, and then there was two, I think there was the prologue in there. Maybe it was the epilogue, I can't remember. And then there was another video where I just kind of condensed all of the extra bonus information stuff into one video. And that Let's Play went really good, although I had to take a month-and-a-half break on it due to some technical issues that arose in the middle of it. So it's kind of funny. It goes to March, and then I think it's episode 8 is March 23rd, and then episode 9 is May 8th or something like that. It's really weird. So that Let's Play wasn't as long as the time period suggests. It was more that there was a big break in the middle because of some issues that I ran into in the middle of making that Let's Play. But the Let's Play itself, as it is, fully intact, is good. It's fine. Finally, the way I wanted it to look, and I don't feel compelled to make another Shadow of the Colossus Let's Play any longer. That was an itch that took me a very long time to scratch. All right, 3 more to talk about. I know this is going long. I apologize. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate you. The last 3 are not that old. They're all pretty darn recent. And I think it's too soon to talk about any Let's Plays that came out this year. And 2021 only had 1 Let's Play going on, and it's not on the list. So really everything else is going to be between 2018 and 2020. So the next Let's Play that I want to talk about is probably one of the best Let's Plays I've ever made, actually. In fact, this is probably one of the few times where I've made a Let's Play I've been proud of, and it's actually getting a lot of traffic, which is shocking because that never happens. Like, I look at those Midnight Club and those Medal of Honor Let's Plays and that Call of Duty 2 Let's Play I made, and while they're fine, it's just like, every time I look at them, I get so embarrassed, but yet that's how most people are exposed to my channel. However, this one time, I think things turned out in my favor with my favorite RPG. Well, okay, not my favorite RPG, my second favorite RPG, but my favorite Pokemon game of all time, and that is Let's Play Pokemon Emerald, which began May 20th, 2019, and ended April 17th, 2020. 83 videos long. This was a very long Let's Play, and usually when they're dragged out that long in terms of like time period, the consistency drops off part of the way through. It's why something like Fallout 4 or Skyrim isn't on this list, is because those series had so many ups and downs to them that it's hard to say that they're my absolute favorite. If I were to pick between the two, I'd say Skyrim is definitely the better Let's Play, and it almost actually made this list, but there was just so much in the way of interruptions and changes and well, I meant changes of direction and confusion that Let's Play, it over the many years that it ran, it was just, it didn't turn out into this beautiful comprehensive package like Pokemon Emerald did. Pokemon Emerald had a singular cohesive vision all the way through. I knew exactly what I wanted to do from the start. The only thing I didn't do that I had planned to do from the get-go was really comprehensively cover the Battle Frontier. However, the alternative that I did, where I just kind of ran through and explained the Battle Frontier, I think turned out all right. I feel like it would have actually ended up being really tedious and boring for people to watch me try to actually beat the whole Battle Frontier. Even if I had done it with no hiccups whatsoever, it would have been like a 20-30 episode affair, and I don't think anybody wants to sit around and watch that. The Battle Frontier is great. It's awesome. It's also very long and drawn out and meant to just kind of be this tedious endgame thing that you're only supposed to do because you have nothing else left to do. And to try to cover all of that in the Let's Play would have made it go way longer than it needed to. So the way I covered the very end of the game, I'm very proud of that. I was able to get every single legendary in there. Also very proud of that. Was able to completely and comprehensively cover the contest scene, which I don't think a lot of Pokemon Emerald Let's Players do. If they do, they usually just kind of give an explanation. I actually demonstrated the strategy, which is something that I did not think was going to turn out very well, and it actually turned out all right. Honestly, that Let's Play is just, I have nothing bad to say about it. I think I actually did a really good job, but it's one, again, it's another one of those games that I'm very knowledgeable of. I don't think I've put more hours into. Maybe Destiny is the only game I've put more hours into than Pokemon Emerald. I have played that game so many times through, dozens and dozens, and I just knew every single nook and cranny like the back of my hand. Didn't have a problem covering really anything at all. It worked out great. It turned out awesome. Very proud of that Let's Play. And only 3 days after Pokemon Emerald ended, the next Let's Play I want to talk about began, and that is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now, Ori and the Blind Forest, the predecessor to this game, was one of the most special video experiences, one of the most special Let's Play experiences I've ever had on the channel, and you're probably going, well, then why didn't you talk about it? Because the videos are bad. The videos are not good. It did not turn out all that great as a Let's Play itself, but my experience with the game was wonderful. So naturally, I knew I had to cover the sequel, and this time I decided to take basically the same approach I did with The Last Guardian. However, Ori and the Will of the Wisp launched in a very bad technical state, which was highly unfortunate because I was super anticipating that game. I knew I was going to love it, and in fact, when I played it, I did love it. It was, I think, the best game of 2020. Wonderful, wonderful game, but it did launch in a very bad technical state, so I had to kind of sit on it. In fact, not just sit on it for the sake of the Let's Play, but for the sake of my own playthrough. I don't think I actually finished playing the game until only like about a week before the Let's Play came out, because I didn't want to touch it until they had rolled out some more patches for it. But eventually it more or less came together. It was still in a sort of bad state once I started Let's Playing it, and there were some technical hiccups throughout the Let's Play itself, but otherwise it turned out great. And again, I think this stands as one of the best displays of my actual ability to play a video game as far as Let's Plays go, because like I said, I'm not that good at these sorts of games. Platformers are included in that. I don't think I'm as bad at platformers as I am at action games, but I'm still not very great at them. This Let's Play, however, turned out fine. It was really, really good. Again, was able to comprehensively go over everything. Not, I would say, to the degree as I am with something like Pokemon Emerald or Okami or Destiny or something like that, but I still was able to show off almost everything I wanted to do. I did 100% the game, which was the goal, and it was only 31 videos long, which is not that bad for a 100% Let's Play of what was, I think, like a 12-hour game or something like that. But yeah, it turned out great. It really did turn out great. And again, it's a beautiful game, absolutely beautiful game with a very interesting ending that I don't think a lot of people would be prepared for, especially coming from Ori and the Blind Forest. But that began on April 20th, 2020 and ended on August 6th, 2020. Again, 31 videos long, not that bad. One of those videos, in fact, is just the prologue, the opening cutscene, which is something that I did with Blind Forest as well. I kind of wanted to keep the tradition of that. It's just unfortunate, however, that I can't go back to either of those games given the recent information that's come out about Moon Studios and how awful the people in charge of that team are. It's such a shame because they're such beautiful games and I still love them to this day, but I just don't feel good covering those again because of the people in charge. Unless they get a severe leadership change there over at Moon Studios, I'll probably never talk about them again, you know, outside of like maybe my favorite games of all time. I just won't talk about the studio anymore. Okay, last game that I want to talk about, and the most recent one on this entire list, obviously, is Banjo-Tooie, which, again, this one began only 11 days after the ending of the last one, Ori and the Will-O-Wisps. Banjo-Tooie began August 17th, 2020, ended December 30th, 2020, 40 videos long. Now, you might be saying, why would Banjo-Tooie be all that special? Well, hilariously enough, Banjo-Tooie was kind of what the entire channel was leading up to, and I mean that with complete sincerity. Beyond something like Okami, for instance. Banjo-Tooie was actually the very first Let's Play I ever made on YouTube, except I didn't do it on this channel. I did it on another channel, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrendous. I think I made it through the third world on that, and I decided, no, I need to scrap this, and that was when I eventually rebranded, actually made this channel, put it all together, and decided to get some tips, learn how to do stuff myself. And so the videos were at least a little bit better. Still bad, but at least better than what it was originally. But Banjo-Tooie was the first thing I ever tried to put up on YouTube because Banjo-Tooie is kind of my nostalgia game, or at least it was for a very long time. It was the game that I held on to from my childhood more than any other that I had these amazing memories of, but I also hadn't played it in a while. It was like the one where I'm like, no, surely it must be good. But as I got older and as I played more games and I got more involved with the internet and stuff like that and how people's opinions are around here, I started to learn that people don't actually like Banjo-Tooie all that much. They think it's good, but they think it's significantly worse than Banjo-Kazooie. So naturally, when I was actually doing Twitch streams, I decided to stream Banjo-Kazooie. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. You can actually go watch the VODs for that entire stream on the channel. They're still up. Go ahead and watch that at your own risk because its quality's horrible and you know, they're VODs, but they're also ancient VODs from, you know, like the early days of Twitch when it was still combined with Justin.tv. But you can go watch that if you want to. And I didn't like the game very much. I didn't like it, how it emphasized platforming more than exploration. Wasn't a big fan of it at all. But I was just like, you know, maybe Banjo-Tooie isn't all that great if it's like this, because I know I haven't played it in a while. It's probably not that good. And so I was actually terrified of covering the game on my channel for a long time. I was like, it's probably not as good as I think it is. I think all of my memories and all of my thoughts on it are based on nostalgia. I don't want to do it. I don't want to ruin it for myself. So then I naturally decided in 2020, now's the time. Now's the time to finally do this. Let's play Banjo-Tooie. And yeah, my fears had no basis. I absolutely loved that game from start to finish while I was Let's playing it. It turned out so good. I did use a guide for a little bit of it because I didn't remember everything. Again, it was a childhood game. I hadn't played it in many, many years, but I was like, I need to do this. I need to get this done out of the way, at least for my own sake. And I was so glad that I did because that Let's Play was great. It felt like I had really hit my stride with that one. And in fact, I would say probably as far as like what I want out of both my gameplay and my commentary and what I'm actually accomplishing in a Let's Play, as far as all of that is concerned, I think Banjo-Tooie exemplifies that better than any of the others. Okami takes things to an extreme. The Last Guardian is something that is just not feasible with every game. Pokemon Emerald isn't even as, I think, comprehensive as Banjo-Tooie is. I did a good job with it, but I don't think I did nearly as good a job as I did with this one. I had I want to say like 1 or 2 hiccups the entire Let's Play, in places that are often considered to be some of the most confusing and overly bloated levels in mascot platformer history. I seriously thought I was going to be so lost at so many points, because even I, as a kid, I never 100%ed these games. I think I beat the entire game with something like 60 or 70%, almost the bare minimum that you could beat the game with. And to then come in and be like, all right, I'm going to try to do everything in this game. And it actually went really smoothly, like not bad at all, and the muscle memory just returned instantly. It was such a weird but revolutionary experience, and I'm the kind of person who replays the games that I like a lot. That's just what I do. I would much rather go back to a comfort game than try something new almost every single time, because those games already make me happy. Why would I want to go to anything else when I don't know for sure if it's going to be a good time, when I can just go to something that I know is going to be a good time? You know, it's very simple, very obvious, but Banjo-Tooie was just kind of the game that got left to the wayside, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like it anymore. But then this revelation when I came back to it. The only problem is that I Let's Played the Xbox 360 version, because if I tried to record the Nintendo 64 version, the quality was just abysmal. More due to my capture card that I have rather than anything else. I need a RetroTinks to upscale that kind of stuff, and I haven't been able to get my hands on one yet. When I do that, expect to see more Nintendo 64 games, but at the time, didn't have one, wasn't about to try to record that thing on my really crappy composite / S-video capture card. It just doesn't cut it. In fact, that's the capture card that I used to record the bonus episode of that Let's Play, and if you wanted that quality for the entire Let's Play, I can promise you, no, you didn't. It does not look very good. So the Xbox 360 version, it just looked better. But the problem with the Xbox 360 version is that, one, it reinstates the stop and swap mechanics, so I wasn't able to show how those work in that version. I had to go to the 64 version to make that happen. And two, the first-person aiming in the Xbox 360 version is completely broken. In Banjo-Tooie, they actually worked with the analog stick so that it's nice and steady and moves, like the cursor moves very gradually, so it's much easier to pinpoint things, especially back in a day and age where first-person shooters weren't all that well put together or understood, and they were still trying to figure out the tech behind that. But on the Xbox 360 version, they made it markedly worse with just oversensitive controls, and as long as you aimed straight ahead, which you did for most of the game, and you just relied on movement rather than raw aiming, it wasn't so bad. But the second you have to aim up or down, it was a crapshoot. And unfortunately, the boss fight, the final boss fight in Banjo-Tooie, relies heavily on aiming up or down, and it made that last fight very bad. A total chore. If you watch the video, you'll see exactly what I mean. I pretty much complain about it through the entire fight because it was the only thing that was preventing what would have been otherwise a very easy victory. But that aside, very happy to see that game the way it was. I loved it. I loved it so much. It's such a good game, such a fun Let's Play, and I think it turned out very good. All right, that is it. That is the 10 Let's Plays that I wanted to talk about that I am most proud of on this channel. There are a couple of other notable ones in there, like Super Mario Sunshine, and Skyrim, and Horizon Zero Dawn. I actually think that my latest Subnautica Let's Play probably even fits in with that group. It turned out pretty darn good, but I just want to reiterate that I am not the kind of person who thinks really highly of my own stuff. That's not the point of these videos. That's not what I'm here to do, is to sit here and talk to you guys about, oh, all these videos were great. No, that's not at all true. I just kind of want to redirect the focus because I constantly get comments about my Midnight Club Let's Plays and my Medal of Honor Let's Plays, and I know there are people that like those. That's great and all, but it's not what I'm here to do. Those aren't the kind of videos that I am solely here to do. I only covered those games because they have a place in my childhood. That's it. I'm not a Midnight Club Let's Player. I'm not somebody who does World War II PS2 shooters at all. That's not my thing. Those are just games that happened to be in my library when I was a teenager, and therefore I played them a bunch. This is a channel that is specifically about showcasing games that I think are good, that I love, but sometimes the quality doesn't always translate. Sometimes I have technical hiccups. I'm just human. I'm not even a professional. I just do this as a hobby. They don't always turn out great. Sometimes they turn out really crappy, but you know what? I keep going because I'm having a fun time. I hope you guys are having a fun time too. That's, again, the whole reason that we're here. 11 years of this stuff, and hopefully many, many more to come. We'll have to see. Guys, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video very much, and I will see you all in the next one.